Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We will get started in about a minute. We are very light on attendees this afternoon, so either our years 10 through 13 parents have all got it under control and they're very familiar with Managebac, or we haven't done a great job of advertising this session, but I'm sure we've had the word out and about for a little while now. Mr. Todd, nice to see you with us this afternoon, and Miss Joanne, I can see you have joined us. Nice to see you. Lovely background there. Is that your hometown? Oh, need to put your mic on, Joanne. Right, we have a very small audience with us this afternoon. We may have some join a little later in the session, but I'm pretty keen to get things started. So, Mr. Todd, if you're okay, I will start my introduction.
Yes, that would be absolutely fantastic.
And Scepter, I'm assuming that this session is being recorded now. So first of all, a nice warm welcome to those of you who have joined us this afternoon. This is our third webinar this week. We had the years 7 through 9 parent session introduction to Managebac on Tuesday, our Unifrog session yesterday for parents of students in years 9 through 13. And this evening, we are running an introduction to parents for Managebac in years 10 through 13. And students in years 10 through 13 are generally taking examination courses at IGCSE level, as well as the IB diploma level. So a nice warm welcome to you all, and a nice welcome to Mr. Todd and Mrs. Dickinson, who have joined us as panelists. Richard will do most of the talking this afternoon, and also a pre-recorded video for us to have a look at as well. So let's move into the presentation, shall we? I will pass over to Richard, who will get us started with Managebac this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Sean. And yes, a welcome from me in my highly professional Kamang studio, television studio, where I'm getting very well versed in making hugely professional productions about anything to do with stuff that kids learn in school. That's what I'm thinking of calling this series, but tell me if you think that that's probably not an appropriate title. Okay, so yes, so Managebac. What we're going to talk about today is I'm just going to share my screen with you now, and I'm going to go to the presentation. This is a walkthrough of. Sorry, I just keep losing my cursor. There we go. This is a walkthrough of basically what you get when you look at the Managebac landing page from a parent's point of view, and we'll look at how the screen is organized and where you go for what kind of information. Obviously, this isn't in depth, and I can't in one session cover what you would need to be looking for from an IGCSE perspective and a DP perspective. But as we talked about with the 7 to 9 parents on Tuesday, really, once you understand the approximate layout of where things are, and you know, there is certain flexibility in that, you can move things around on your screen. If you get to know the components, the real estate, if you like, it's a bit like a map. And then you go in and you play with it, walk around, you can't really break anything. So once you've done that, you start getting a feel for the lay of the land, clicking on buttons and see where it takes you. It's essentially anything to do with the coursework, anything to do with reports, anything to do with formative and summative assessments and grades, you will find it in Managebac. It's not a communications channel in terms of active communication. You will get messages from parents, but let's go and have a bit of a walkthrough. So that's what I've just explained there. I'm going to be using a demo account today to walk you through it. You can also go in and we'll make this this presentation available for you in PowerPoint form should you want to go in and try the login, the demo login. No real need because you've already got your credentials for signing in anyway. But we'll have a walkthrough and then we'll have Q&A at the end. Okay, this is what we're going to look at. The general section, there's the sign in, you as a parent, we'll talk about how to find your children, choosing the children. Obviously, I don't mean how to find your children in real life. I mean where they are in Managebac. We'll go through the different places of the menus and all the different features here. I'm not going to read that to you. We'll just go through it. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play you the video that I made earlier today, and then anything that I haven't really talked about, we can play catch up afterwards and ask some questions. But please do remember this is a demo. All of the dates, don't pay any attention to the dates. Most of the information was built into these demo personalities in 2017-18, and you'll see names like Sharon Arazi, and don't worry about that. Just look at where things are and listen to my talk through. So I'm now going to play the video, and we'll see you on the other side. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Richard Todd, and I'm going to be giving you a walk through some of the basic geography, if you like, of Managebac. Now, the version that you're seeing on the screen right now, it's a demonstration mode. And at the moment, you can see that my name is Sharon, and I'm an administrator. You don't need to come into this demo mode. You've all got your own children who are on Managebac. You can sign in anyway. You've got your own credentials. So basically, everything that we're going to look at today, you can replicate when you are signed in with your own credentials. So I'm just going to change my role. I'm going to become Anne. I've changed from Mr. Richard Todd to Sharon Arazi, and I'm now going to be Anne Eppelbaum, who's a parent with the grand total of 5, I believe it's 5 students in the Managebac. I'm sorry, I'm just going to stop here because I'm not really sure what's happened, but I think that I'm playing you, the video from Tuesday. Can you just bear with me a second? Over this embarrassing gap, I'm not really sure what's happened there. I know that I've got it here. Just let me.
Whilst you're doing that, Richard, I'll just remind people for this session that you can put your questions into the Q&A and we will answer any questions at the end. Right, okay. I'm just going to stop the share and now I'm going to see if I can find it again. Quick time player. Hopefully that tiny little embarrassing incident is over. Let's see if I've got the right one. Right now, I think I can go to full screen, enter full screen. Can you see my QuickTime window, Sean? I can see Anne Eppelbaum again. Does it start with? Okay. So, yep. So it's starting right. Yep. 14 minutes 20.
Walking you through Managebac. This demonstration is a basic introduction from a parent's point of view. So as you can see, I at the moment am, my name is Anne Eppelbaum, because this is a demonstration, a demo copy of Managebac that they've set up so that I can show you the different viewpoints. But today we're just going to look at a parent's perspective. So Anne, this parent, Anne Applebaum, has several children in the Managebac system. And today we're going to look at Chloe, who's a DP student. So when you are logged in, because you've got your login details for your children on Managebac, when you log in, somewhere over here on the left, you'll see one of your children. It'll be a picture of the last one you were looking at when you were logged in, and you can click on the menu there, and on the drop-down menu, you see all your children and choose which one you want to look at. So I'm going to click Chloe here, and here's Chloe. She's in DP. She's in DP2, so that means she's a year 13 student. And this will be your landing page when you want to look at one of your children, especially a DP student. The page will look like this. All of the pages will look relatively similar. So if you've got a younger child who's in an IGCSE class, all the pages will look relatively similar to this. You'll always start with the dashboard. In the dashboard, you've got a menu on the left, and you can see all of the things that are in Managebac are listed down here. Dashboard, calendar, there's a year group manager, timetables, classes, portfolio, reports, reflections, and groups down the left. That's the academic section there, and the general section at the top. If you look over on the right-hand side here, you can see all of the contact people for Chloe. So we've got mum and dad, we've got the homeroom teacher there, a DP advisor, and the principal. And down at the right-hand side there, you've got a link to the DP Subject Centre. Now up here at the top of the dashboard, you can see an online lesson that's being planned by a teacher. So basically on the dashboard, what you see is the most recent activity. Pay no attention to these dates. This is a demo copy of Managebac, and this was done a couple of years ago. So when you see dates, they won't actually make any sense in terms of the real date and time, but this was talking about the addition of an online lesson in molecular biology. You've got a help section here for the student guide. There's a link to, it's not a link, that's the company that owns Managebac. You've got help and support here, and you've got the number of updates or in the inbox that the student could go and look at. Right, so here you've got the next 2 weeks in the calendar, and at the moment, all you have to do is you hover your cursor over the letter I, and it gives you a bit more detail about what it is we're looking at. So there's obviously some DP Visual Arts work due. There's a final exam coming up. What else can we see? There's a formative piece of work to be done here. There you go, you get all the details there. So all of the details that are on the actual page where this task is, you can see them by hovering over the icon with your cursor. Okay, so now I'm going to click on calendar, and this is the month-long calendar. You can go and have a look at the week-long calendar as well. We know what this is because we just looked at another version of it for the next 2 weeks. So Chloe's got a pretty busy week. She's got a DNA quiz on Tuesday. She's got a field trip at 4:25 in the morning. That's a strange time, isn't it? There you go. So that's it's fairly self-evident what that is. You can add some personal events there, subscribe to other calendars, and then you can say, well, no, I just want to look at all my journal events or all my writing events. I'll look at those. I'm not looking at journal anymore, just writing, just conversational stuff. And then I'm honestly not sure how to get them all back, but I'm not going to spend time doing that. I'm sure there's a shortcut. I just don't know what it is. That's an interesting point, actually, that Managebac is such a wide and deep beast. You would have to do study of Managebac and nothing else, probably for a month, to become relatively expert in it. So there are parts of it that I've never dipped my toe in. It's much like an iceberg. You see what's at the top, but you don't really see 75% of it that lurks beneath the surface. There's a question there where you can always click that question and ask for some help. And I think what that's doing is it's another way to access the help and support there. Okay, year group manager. There's a lot going on in under this drop down. This is where you'll find all the CAS information. So we click on CAS and then we see all of Chloe's CAS activities. We'll see what she's done and what she hasn't done, what's to come. You'll see the comments from, that would either be from the supervisor of that activity or the CAS coordinator. Extended essay, we'll click on here. Here we can have a look at Chloe's researchers' reflection space. This is where all of their research should go. So if you've got a year 12 or 13, a child in year 12 or 13, ask them to show you their researchers' reflection space. I'll just go and have a look, because this is where all their research should be. I would expect a year 13 student to have quite a bit more than that, I must say. Now then, what do we over here on the right? These are things within the extended essay that have been starred, nothing. So you can look there at the journal, what's in the website folder. Okay, theory of knowledge, specialist space for theory of knowledge submissions, which is obviously part of the DP core, CAS, TOK and the extended essay, part of the diploma. They're called core subjects because you've got to do them, and they're kind of at the heart of understanding our own learning, at the centre of the holistic representation of the child that you see on all of the IBO documentation. So here's the Tlk Journal. This is the work that they would be doing for the presentation, which is part of the internal assessment, and reflections on planning and progress there. The plan is a really important part for the DP students. This is where all their information that gets submitted to the IB when they register for their exams. It's very important that this is all correct, and this eventually goes to IBIS, which is purely about examinations for the IBO. We've got a link here to the Pomoja courses and all the available options on Pomoja. Pomoja is a separate entity from the IB. It's a separate entity from ECG Jakarta, but they do run teacher-led courses in subjects that are not necessarily taught in all schools. For example, we have quite a strong tradition developing already of students wanting to study psychology, and they can do that. They have an outside tutor, they have online lessons, and they submit work online, get their grades delivered to them online. We can look at Pomoja in detail another time. Messages, all of Chloe's messages will be collated here, wherever they're from. Relating to the core. This is where she's got separate folders for TOK, EE, and there's a CAS presentation by the DP coordinator there. And here are all of her classmates. Academics. Scroll down here. Here's a timetable. And again, this is a weekly timetable. If you look over here on the right-hand side, you can see how many weekly class attendances there have been, how many absences, how many lates, and then of course the timetable. All of these are active links. So let's go and have a look at visual arts because I'm biased. And here you can see a little 2-week calendar just for visual arts. Interactions here, that's conversations between the art teacher and the student. Obviously, nice job, Chloe, and not the kind of formative feedback examples that we would be expecting. Let's go back to the overview here and we'll scroll down. Let's go and look at this formative activity called Paint a Band Poster. So here's some of the resources that the teacher has used, and we can look at, we can see the grade boundaries over here. I'm going to go back this way. And tasks and units. Here you can see what grades she's been getting for all these different parts, whether these are summative grades or formative grades with comments. You will see them here. These will relate to particular assessment criteria. Here's all of the completed activities using black and white. Again, a summative comment of nice job doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but this is just a demo. So, and then you've got all of the classes that she's involved in here that you can go in and you can have a look at what's been set and whether she's getting stuff in on time and what kind of comments she's getting back from the teacher. Portfolio is something that students should be building in relation to their studies. This is the sort of thing that will be helpful when your son or daughter is looking at maybe studying further after ACG School Jakarta. We've got examinations guidance over here. We've got e-coursework, that's for the IB diploma. We've got some goals here. We've got a timeline, more goals. So, very useful. Reports. This is obviously where you want to go if you want to reach back in time and see what it was people were saying about you last term, last semester, last year. There's a reflection space here related to goals and the different groups that Chloe has got herself involved in. So that's your basic walk around of Managebac. Again, as I will be outlining in the actual presentation, spending time in Managebac is the only real way to get comfortable with it, to get familiar with it. Spend some quality time just walking around. You can't really break anything in there, so click on things, see where it takes you, get familiar with it. But above all, I think the most important thing is to engage your son or daughter in conversations about their learning and therefore the evidence of that learning on Managebac. Those conversations are vital, and they should be as stress-free as possible. They should be as normal as possible. Obviously, that's something that you have to work on over time. Managebac is a shop window where you can have a look at what it is your son and daughter have been up to, but really it only reflects the conversations that you're going to be having with your son or daughter. So that's my walk around, and now we will go to some Q&A. There you go. I'm going to hand back to Mr. Hutchinson now, and we can, unless I've missed something, I think we can start the Q&A.
Thanks very much, Richard. So yes, that demo session there, quite useful to see the features and functionality of Managebac. For us as parents, as Richard indicated, is really a useful tool for us to have conversations with our children about their learning that's taking place. So if you do have questions this afternoon, please feel free to drop your question into the Q&A and we will endeavour to respond. We'll generally give people a couple of minutes to decide whether they have any questions. Richard, one of the things that I guess we could start with, just to kind of give parents a bit of an idea, what are some simple things that they could really go in and look for in their first visit into Managebac?
Okay, yeah, it's a good question. As a parent, I know that the first thing that I looked at was I was clicking on whatever was in the dashboard. So the most immediate upcoming events, which in most cases is going to be either a formative submission, a piece of work that the student has to put in that's gonna get them some formative feedback, or a summative, because I need, as a parent, I would want to know when my son or daughter has got to hand work in that's going to be either graded, or it's going to be a significant piece of work in terms of getting feedback. So usually there's something either upcoming or it's just happened and it's in the dashboard. Then after that, I would go and look. I would go and look at the subject where my son or daughter is probably having the most challenges, and I'd want to see what the comments are from teachers, see what kind of communication my son or daughter is getting. So then I will know how best I can help them, because I mean, really, essentially, that's what Managebac is. That's one of its great advantages. I mean, you can view it as an inert thing that just gives information, but I prefer to see it as something that presents the possibility of engaging in a conversation between the stakeholders in children's education. So the teacher, the student themselves, and the parent. So I'd go and find out what's being spoken of.
Great, thanks for that, Richard. Joanne and I have children in the school. I think for me, Joanne, one of the things is that because I've got two children in the school, I can go in and I can switch between both quite easily. The other feature that I really like as a parent is getting the email notifications when formative and summative assessment is completed and marked, because that usually gives me an opportunity to go into Managebac. So it's a bit of a, I guess, a reminder to visit Managebac, but it also gives me an opportunity to talk to my children about the feedback that they've received from the teacher, the assignment itself, and how they've been progressing with that. Joanne, from your perspective, I know you've got...
Yeah, totally agree, Sean. I mean, I particularly like the email updates that are sent out when summative assessment and grades are put onto Managebac, because it's a direct spring into a conversation with your son or daughter. What's going on? What's working well? And, you know, listening to all the reasons why this happened, why this didn't happen. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I think now this year we've seen teachers using a lot more features of Managebac. So, for example, my daughters are getting audio feedback, so recorded feedback from the teacher kind of talking through an area of the learning and providing that feedback in an audio file or video file in some cases. And the other thing too, I think, for parents is making sure, I think you indicated in your video, Richard, making sure that you are hovering over some of those, are they called speech bubbles? Is that what they're called? Because
well, if you said that, I would understand it. So yeah, let's say yes.
Because a lot of information is available, and if you keep digging, you get a little bit more information. So
can I add something to that as well, Sean? I'd just like to remind parents who are listening that, or maybe tell them for the first time, maybe they don't know. Managebac is still relatively new in ACG School Jakarta in terms of its widespread use. And so when you're exploring it, please just also bear in mind that students are relatively new to this too, as are teachers. So it's a behemoth of a thing. It's got far more capability than we could possibly use right now because we're still relatively new to it. So that's a bit of a plea for a little bit of understanding and patience in advance that, you know, we're not there, but we are trying to get better at using Managebac to help you be better informed about where your kids are at and how we can better support them.
Thanks, Richard. So we do have our first question this afternoon. So sometimes we get information on Managebac that there will be a test on such a date from the teacher. But when I asked my child on that date, there was no test or assignment. Is Managebac with teacher information and online classes sometimes different? So I guess it's referring to a task or an assignment or a test that's being set, and then for some reason it's moved. The actual test date or assignment date has moved. Joanne, you got any thoughts on that at the moment?
No, I was just reading the question actually. I have, for example, I have something that is a formative assessment for my children going at the moment, and I put it for one particular date, and then I realised that I had something else going on, and then I realised there was PSTC, and so I moved it, and I think I've moved it twice now. So it's not all. One would hope that it was set in stone because we do need obviously to prepare the children, but in some instances dates have to be moved. And I know that, you know, the children may think, oh, we've got a test today, but I can pretty much guarantee you that the teacher has already told the children that the test won't be on Tuesday, but hasn't actually updated it in Managebac in most cases.
Just to add to that, Joanne, but the entry of tests or quizzes or whatever it is on particular dates, those dates will appear to be the same on all the different views. So the parent, the student, the teacher, it will be on the same date on all of their calendars. But like Joanne says, sometimes those things might have to be changed, and we're all human, so sometimes we forget. But they start out and they remain the same replicated dates on all different views.
And that's generally for formative and summative assessment, assignments, tasks, anything related to a date will go into the calendar once the teacher has put it in there. Rule of thumb for us is to make sure that we are communicating changes to assessment dates to students. If there are adjustments to the assessment schedule, then teachers need to make that adjustment. And I think really the final step that we need to push home is making sure that Managebac is updated, because yes, you're right, parents are referring to those dates and it gets a little bit confusing if you say to your son or daughter, you know, how did you go with this particular task or this assignment or this test, and if it didn't happen, what's happening from there. So certainly an area for us to go back to our teachers and clarify, but generally speaking, what you see as a parent, the student will see, and that's what the teacher has put into the system. Thank you very much for your question there. Are there any other questions this afternoon about Managebac? I think one of the things, Richard, that I'm not sure whether you've mentioned this already, but the idea of perhaps some of our year 10, 11 parents having a look at the year 7 through 9 tutorial video that you've made. and we can send that out along with the recording of this afternoon's session for parents to view.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's the reason it might look a little bit intimidating as an interface is purely reflective of the fact that there's a lot in there. But when you think about what it is that it's doing, it's a relatively simple concept. There's a lot of information that relates to what the child is studying and how they are making progress within that course of study, and then how that's being reported. That's basically what Managebac is. So if you keep that principle clear in your mind, you won't get confused between 7 to 9, 10 and 11, 12 and 13, because essentially they're all the same. There are some things that change, like the courses themselves, but they're still learning content, skills and processes. They're still getting comments from teachers. They're still submitting work either on time or late, and they're getting grades for that. That's what's happening in all of those areas of school. So keep that in mind, and then I think you'll be less intimidated by it. As I remember the first time I looked at Managebac, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. There was so much information there. But essentially, it's actually quite intuitive once you realize it's in some basic sections.
That's great. And so, parents, if you do have questions after this session, reach out to your son or daughter's advisor in the first instance. Reach out to the subject teachers if you've got some specific questions related to those subjects. And then, of course, Richard and Joanne are available to respond to any questions that you may have as well. We really hope that our parents increase their engagement with Managebac, and also have conversations with their children about Managebac and what information is available to them in the platform. With that said, thank you very much for attending this afternoon. We will be sending out a recording of the presentation, and as we said, we'll also send out the year 7 through 9 recording and presentation, just so you've got a bit of an idea of perhaps some subtle differences between the two. That's it from us this afternoon. We're almost to the end of what has been an incredibly busy term. Mr. Richard Todd and Ms. Joanne Dickinson, thank you very much for your support and hard work. And parents, thank you very much for attending. We look forward to seeing you after a well-deserved break on the 20th of October. The teachers will be back on the 19th for virtual professional development, and then classes and students recommence on the 20th. Thanks very much, everyone. Stay safe. Have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.